Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Teresa, so we are here in 2021, January. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. How are you, friend?
Well, you know what? I'm doing great, actually. Doing great. What about you?
I'm doing good.
Isn't it something when you face a new year and you're just, really, I'm saying great because I survived it. And before in my life, that would have sort of been, okay, yeah, we're going into a new year. But this year, it means even more when you say, I survived.
It does. It really does. I haven't thought about it like that, but you're right. It means quite a bit. Because it was a tough year. And it continues to be tough, of course, with COVID. Yeah, it means a lot. Yeah. And really, we shouldn't take it for granted because it literally means a lot. Even if we weren't faced with all of the challenges that we've had in 2020, surviving and being able to see another year, another day is something we should not take for granted.
Well, you're right. But one thing that when we talk about 2020, one thing that has just sort of hit me in my gut has been the pandemic and the impact on our community. There's been a lot of discussion about the racial implications and how this has definitely shown that there are inequities which place us at significant disadvantage. But when I say it has hit me in my gut, the reality is not to be hard, but the reality is we have to do a better job taking care of ourselves. We can't just lay everything at the feet of racism, even though at its core, it may be that we lack knowledge and lacked resources, whatever. But we have to take ownership of our health and take better control so that we aren't placed in a position where our health is compromised to the point that we can't fight illness. And that to me, I am telling you, when I say it's hit me in my gut, even in our community, and I'm talking about myself, if you have resources or you are educated or you have access to information, and when we still don't do better, that's not okay. That's not okay, because it's just like we hear so often that you can't wait until something happens and then run to put gas in the tank. That's not the way it works if you're running on empty. We have to be strong enough to be able to stand and fight. And I'm talking to myself here, folks, that this is just, it's just hit me differently because I know I could have done better.
Right.
And yet I'm in this category at risk and didn't have to be through my own actions and some inaction. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, but my mind still goes to the how we're treated differently. Yeah. I still feel like even with all of that, because it's not just Black people who don't approach their health in that way. We don't that don't take ownership of but just putting us head to head with another race in the same situation in the hospital, we still come out on the losing end. You know what I mean? So for me, yeah, we have to be advocates for ourselves on so many levels. We have to
Right.
fight harder to take care of ourselves so that we don't end up in a situation where then we get less care
Right.
because we're Black, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And it's not to say that that's right, but if we know that's what we're dealing with, what part do we play in not being disadvantaged, and what can we do? And so that's why we're talking today about a bit about a reset, focusing on health and wellness. When we launched Earrings Off, Teresa, you and I labored over the name, what that meant, what our goal was. And we kept going back to, primarily because this is your focus, the health and wellness and your passion. And it's mine too on some level, but we kept going back to improving the quality of our lives, getting people information, not that was readily available, not that you have to schedule it. Like there's going to be something coming on hypertension at 6:00 p.m. and maybe you'll have to go back and rewatch it. But Earrings Off is at your fingertips. The information we're trying to provide to you is readily available. Just go online and look up the episodes. And we are committed to talking about health and wellness. And for us, that's bigger than just our physical health. So, we're going to talk about health and wellness in all areas, In
all areas.
Yeah. This year, we want to focus a bit on a reset. Again, getting the information, but not just getting the information, questioning the information, and actually using the information to make our lives better. But before we go there, we're going to talk about, we don't want to just miss because there was so much going on in 2020, but we also, sometimes there's a tendency to just focus on the negatives, but there was some good stuff that happened in 2020.
Before we go there, Lou, can I just go back to what you just said prior, and with the information that we share, and certainly, like you said, this is nothing. We're not creating it. This is information that we're bringing to people that's readily available everywhere. But we want to focus on us. But even if you don't act on it yourself, please share it with somebody, because there's somebody who can benefit. Somebody might not have access to a smartphone or the internet, and might not have health care, and might not have access to a nutritionist, but might benefit from a recipe or an idea that we share. And just please, even if you don't use it yourself, think about sharing it with somebody else. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, that's an excellent point. And also, we've talked about, here at Earrings Off, we don't even proclaim to know all of the information. We might miss it. We might miss something that we need to be sharing. So also this year, we're asking that you be a part of shaping our direction, in that you know topics we need to discuss. If you have something maybe you've heard about and you want us to ferret out information, get an expert in on it, please send us those requests, that information, to earringsoff@gmail.com. And you don't have to be eloquent in your request. It doesn't have to be structured any type of way. All you need to say is, I want to know more about breast cancer, or can you get me information on, the Lady, can you get me some information on hypertension or lupus or whatever it may be? You know what? We've got a fifth grader in school, and we're having this challenge with them with the virtual education. What resources might you have? Educational resources that might help us. We aren't teachers, but we know a lot of excellent teachers, a lot of excellent educators that we can easily tap into that resource. And they're readily available to help you. So please just send us that information. Teresa and I are your boots on the ground, as they say. We'll try our best to get you that information.
That's right. Help us help you.
Right.
Because many of our topics are coming from our own experiences.
Yeah.
And certainly we have not experienced everything. If you can help us help you, that would be great.
Yeah, it would be excellent. Just going back to talking about some of the good stuff from 2020 that happened. One of the things that's been very controversial, heart-wrenching, but that has been part of the good stuff that happened has been the Black Lives Matter movement, bringing issues to the forefront, just the intensity of the conversations and the deliberate actions that have been taken to try to address the racial inequities in this country, as painful as it has been in the midst of a pandemic. But it was so critical that these conversations be held and actions be taken, and that even anger be registered with regard to the treatment of minorities, African Americans in this country. So that has been that's from the good stuff that's happened in 2020.
So, you're so how should I describe you? You're so it's not academic. You're
it's gifted,
thoughtful.
Teresa. The word you're looking
you're
for.
You are gifted, and you're so.
No, I'm just.
What is the word I'm looking for? You because one of the good things that I thought about that happened, that I read about that happened, that I was excited to see, is drive-in movies.
Well, that too, though. But Teresa, don't.
I have been trying to get my child to go.
I want to do it.
I want to do it so bad. This is it's light, but it's true. Drive-in movies have come back, as a result of.
But Teresa, you have a tendency to be dismissive of that because you're not as wordy as I am. But because I like to use words and like to hear my own voice, that's a whole nother issue, That's my thing. And unfortunately, people have to suffer with it. But really, don't be dismissive of that because, Teresa, in this pandemic, when people are so challenged, kudos and my great respect has gone to people that have been creative, that have tried to use their intelligence to come up with ways so that we don't lose our freaking minds. I am telling you,
absolutely,
that we somehow keep it together in this pandemic. And that is not to be dismissed, because we are missing being able to congregate, laugh together, see something that touches all of us at the same time. And the drive-in movies have been a way to deal with that. I read something, before you and I talked today, I just scanned the paper a bit, and I'm going to go back and read the article. But one of the articles that I scanned this morning, it was hearing from restaurant owners in their own words how they have been impacted, their businesses. And we've all been aware of the impact because we are not frequenting our usual places, and we've been impacted. But of course, the businesses and the employees have been impacted by, not having their normal operating, monies that they're used to coming in so that they can pay their bills, pay their staff that they've relied on. Businesses that have not been in financial trouble before now are facing financial trouble. Some have closed. And so we're all aware of that. And we're doing the extra tipping, and we're doing the DoorDash, Uber, whatever we can do to support. But one thing one of the restaurant owners said that just struck me, and I thought, wow. When we talk about as parents, I don't have a school-age kid, but my heart goes out to the parents that are dealing with this, that are at home. They're having to work from home, restructure everything. But what this restaurant owner said was, we've had to learn how to do business a different way. We've had to learn how to keep patrons safe, diners safe, staff safe. We've had to learn how to even redo our menu to figure out what will work best and how to operate, how to streamline expenses. And she went through this whole litany of how they have been impacted. And she said, we've not had money problems before, but now I'm faced with something I never had to deal with running this business. And you're hoping that when we go back to normal, in quotes, that people will return. But what she said at the end of describing, and I don't do it justice, just so eloquently said about the impact, but what she said at the end was that, and while we're dealing with all of this as business owners, our kids are at home, and we're trying to help them manage not seeing their friends, not going to school, them being inside. And because what she was saying, don't forget, before the business owners, I'm a mom. And I'm trying to make sure my family is okay as I maneuver my business needs. And so anything, going back to your point about the movie, the drive-in theaters, listen, anything that lets us escape for a bit, to feel lighter for a bit, to remove that weight, let me tell you, that's definitely some good stuff in 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. And that story just made me think about the frontline healthcare workers.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same for them.
Oh, yeah.
And their families, some of them don't even, for many of us, we've been able to come into the house to work.
Right.
So we've been fortunate enough to do that, number one. Yeah. And secondly, that means that we spend more time with our families. But those restaurant workers and restaurant owners and the frontline healthcare workers it's been the opposite for them.
Exactly.
They've worked more away from their families.
They work more, and they've certainly carried the bulk of the load in terms of dealing with this pandemic. I think now in my vain little world, as this pandemic goes on and I come inside from having, run an errand, and I'm immediately going to wash my hands, it's like, okay, I'm going to wash my hands. And so you're washing them during the whole birthday song. I'm still following that. But of course, then after I finish that, it's like, all I can think about is my hands are going to be so dry when this is over. Where's the lotion? That's my big thing. And I'm hearing about healthcare workers who aren't seeing their families. And when they come home, they have a room dedicated to them disrobing, going through this whole process of showering and changing clothes. And then I have a friend's daughter who has to immediately wash her clothes and all of this, and keep the kids away from them oh, I'm sure by that time, all they want to do is see their family. And they can't embrace readily because they've got this whole protocol that they followed at the hospital that then has to translate at home for them to be safe.
Right.
And then I'm worried about
them
my
to be
hands
safe.
are going to be dry from all of this washing. And where's the lotion? So,
Right. And that's what that you talk about washing your hands. That blows my mind too when people complain about wearing a mask.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I just got to say it. I
Yeah.
mean, think about how selfish that is when you got these frontline healthcare workers sacrificing so much for us. And if we were to just wear the mask, they wouldn't have to be working so hard, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and there was something.
But we're supposed to be talking about good stuff, girl. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be talking about good stuff.
Well, you're right. You're right. You're right. Good stuff. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
One other big good thing that happened toward the end of 2020 was that we got our first Black female vice president.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely good stuff.
That's some good stuff. And so much, you talk about injustices. I think that in terms of Black women, I feel like having her in office should bring to light some of the things that we deal with as Black women. Salary differences, health care and health treatment differences. I'm hoping that some of this stuff is highlighted and put behind us as well.
Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah.
Is that too much to hope for?
No, absolutely not. And that's definitely good stuff. One thing that I really believe is that's happened that's been good is because of this pandemic and being in and having more time to be quiet and think a bit more, you realize all of this stuff we're caught up in, all of the little stuff that we have to have, and I have to go here and I have to have this. It's made me think about my choices. It's made me realize I don't need as much as I thought I did. It's not even important because I've diverted those funds as you have and other folks have to giving to people and organizations that really need those funds. I've been able to cut back on things and say, you know what? I need to make better choices relative to how I spend my money and what I give to, because people have really, while businesses and organizations have suffered, there have also been many reports of people giving more and being more intentional in supporting, because we recognize the need is there for food bank and different service organizations. So we're giving and we're doing that. That's been part of the good stuff because it's caused us to reevaluate what we're doing in our day-to-day activities. So that's been good stuff. But Teresa, let's talk a little bit about then what we want to do better in 2021. What do we hope that we do a better job?
You mean personally?
Personally, as the country, whatever. You know how we are here at Earrings Off. We don't really have parameters like that. That's the good thing.
But for me personally, I happen to be privy to future podcasts that we're going to be airing. But for me personally, based on those and folks you'll hear more about them, I just want to focus more on my health and be more consistent with that, with meditation, with eating well, with exercise, and intentional based on even what you opened with, talking about how we have to not be in the position to be at the bottom of every health crisis that comes along in the United States, and I want to help others. I really want to share, what little bit I do know about nutrition and inflammation and how it puts us at a disadvantage in our bodies. And, like most people think of inflammation as what they see when they stub their toe or when they smash their finger in the door, or have an accident. But inflammation is so much more than that. It lives inside of us and we don't see it until we are sick. And then it's like, how did that happen? And all of this inflammation has built up in our bodies that cause us to have diabetes or high blood pressure or some other ailment. I want to share that information about how to eat to prevent some of that happening in our bodies.
That's good. That's great information, and it certainly will benefit me and benefit our listeners, benefit the community. You went deep on that one. Me, for what I'm hoping that we do better in 2021, and I'm encouraged by, I'm starting to read and about these police review boards. And I've always maintained, that I could be wrong, that some of what we see with the actions of the police, of course, is bias. Some of it is just, I think, some of the training, how people have been taught to respond to situations in which African American is involved. So I'm encouraged that the governor is looking at that, different localities are looking at that, to see how can you put together a citizen review board that's going to impact this issue. Because Teresa, we recently had the incident in New York of the 14-year-old being accused by this woman. I wrote her name down, I can't remember it, she accused a 14-year-old of stealing her phone in this hotel. And there was the 14-year-old did not steal her phone. It was a big thing that she left the phone in the Uber car that she was just in. But here we have another instance of this teenager being targeted. It could have gone much worse than it did, although I understand he has been traumatized by it. But I'm encouraged that now that this, the cover's been pulled off on what we've had to endure, that there will actually not just be, and this is not to minimize the marches, not to minimize any conversations, not to minimize the anger, but it looks like we're moving in a direction where there will actually be policies developed, training occurring.
That's what I was going to say.
Which will better address this issue. And
right.
So I am so encouraged by that we now have some new policies and laws in place to provide better protection, which will put law enforcement on notice that, okay, this is our standard and this is what you will be. This is what we want to see when there's interaction. So I was encouraged by that, because I tell you, I think it was last Sunday, my husband was out and he had some car trouble. And when he called me, it was early Sunday morning. And when he called, I am telling you, just him saying, Lou, I'm right down the road, and the car was sputtering like something was wrong with the battery. But I tell you, when I got that call, I was in a panic, like, I got to get to him, because what I don't want is some cop rolling up. And that's a shame, because you just don't know. And sure enough, when I got there, the cop had gotten there to, put his blinkers on so people could see the car. But even that interaction, I was very concerned about this cop being there with my husband and nobody else there, because you just don't know.
Exactly.
And
right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's
I get that. I get that. And that's really sad and unfortunate that we don't think of them as protecting and serving as much as, as what they that's what they stand for. That's what they're here for, to protect and serve us.
Yeah.
But Lou, you hit the nail on the head. Sure, social media has done so much to bring so many of these things to light.
Yeah.
But until the policies change, until there's laws to protect us, that is going to continue. People don't care about being videoed.
Well,
because that lasts but a minute. That lasts but a minute. Folks who have lost their jobs have gone on to get other ones because it lasts but a minute. We have a short attention span. Wow. But if we have a law in place, if we have a policy in place where people are held accountable for what they've done, then I feel like that will affect real change. And if it doesn't, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. Just throw my hands up and say.
No, but that's where the real change occurs. And so what I'm hopeful for is that all of us, all earrings off, our listeners, you talk to your family and friends. What Teresa just said is important. It's not just watching a video. Pay attention. Attend these meetings, send those letters, emails, and say, how is that citizen review board going? Do you have a citizen review board? What are you doing with police in this area? We need to be asking those questions. If nothing else, one of the best things that happened in 2020, definitely good stuff, was Stacey Abrams giving us an example that you take some deliberate action. Take some deliberate action. Don't just talk about something. Don't just see injustice. Come up with a freaking plan. So be a part of the solution.
Hey, I got an idea. Be a part of the solution. But I got an idea for a show, Lou. We need to talk about, as citizens, what our rights are. These, like you mentioned about the Citizen Review Board, well, guess what? The first word in that is citizen. That's us. Yeah. How do people get themselves onto those boards?
Right. And so,
what are the boards that are available? Now, I this year I started going to not that I'm going to get any of the positions, but I went to the governor's website, and I've been watching for the perfect job or committee for me to serve on, to show up, because I want to be involved. Yeah. This year has shown, one good thing this year has shown me is that getting involved does affect change.
Absolutely. And Teresa, you just said it. We need to be on boards. And listen, when you say, not that I'm getting chosen, you don't know, but send it in. Ask. Because, how do we know? And then if you're not chosen, I want to know, well, who was chosen?
Why wasn't
I chosen? It's okay. It's okay that I'm not chosen, but I want to know, who did you choose? Did you make sure that there's diversity? Were you looking out to actually come up with a group of people who are going to be a part of the solution? Or was this just something you put together for show? I want to ask that. But what Stacey Abrams has shown us is that we have to be deliberate. Yes. And so it's not okay to just complain. We have got to ask some questions. And it's okay to ask questions. I'm not talking about being disruptive in the sense that you're agitating, but if by asking questions you're agitating, there's something wrong with that, because you should be able to ask. Okay, I want to know, when is that citizen board being convened? When are they meeting? I want to go to some meetings. Are those public meetings? And I want to read the agenda. I want to look at what you're talking about. So those are the things that we need to be involved in as we go forward in 2021. Make that your mission. Wherever you are, make that your goal, to stay abreast of issues that impact us and that you have questions about, and tell your neighbors, you know what? Instead of us all gathering around the TV at a certain time to watch Scandal and do watch parties, there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to be asking your, are you going to that government meeting next week? It's at 7:00. Oh, are you going? Who's going? Who's keeping their eyes and ears open? I don't care if you have to set up a rotational schedule. whatever we need
Right.
to do, because it's just that
It
important.
takes a village.
I'm going to get off my
It is.
soapbox, but that's what I'm looking forward to in 2021. And we're looking forward to you staying engaged and us moving forward. So our very best to you,
Absolutely.
as always. Please stay engaged with us. Send us those emails to earringsoff@gmail.com. Our very best to you. We are wishing you all the best. Because here in Earrings Off,
When we know better, we do better.
take good care.